Hello and welcome to Bravo 15. In this video we are going to look at 12 horror games released up to now. The list is prepared as most scariest game at the top of the list. So let's get right into our video. IMSCARED, stylized as IMSCARED, is an indie horror video game created by Ivan Zanotti. This game features an unnamed protagonist in a room, unable to escape due to the door needing a heart to open it. Upon the player investigating, they find a little key under the table. This little key can be used to open the wardrobe, revealing blood to be inside it. This reveals a hidden entrance to the bottom left of the room. The hidden entrance in the corner of the room, as previously mentioned, reveals the passageway to the basement, where there are a series of doors. Going inside one of the doors reveals a chair and 2 bookshelves. Behind the right bookshelf is a key, in which the player needs to crouch to get it. Upon getting this key, the player can use it on one of the doors, in which they will find a hallway with flesh-like walls. At the end of the hallway, a heart can be found. Upon collecting the heart and going back, titular antagonist White Face chases the player. Upon contact with White Face and the unnamed protagonist, a fake BSOD appears. Later in the game, antagonist Her tries to hinder the player, similar to White Face. Although it is revealed at the end of her section that Her is a variation of White Face. The Cat Lady is a 2012 psychological horror graphic adventure game developed by Harvester Games. The game is a puzzle-based adventure game. The game is entirely played using only the 4 arrow keys, with the ESC key being used to access the save or load menu. Because of this highly simplified control scheme, characters can only move left and right between scenes, while up and down are used to interact with objects in the environment and the player's inventory, respectively. All character dialogue is fully voiced, and the cutscenes cannot be skipped. The player can occasionally make dialogue decisions that alter the story slightly, and some story scenes are told out of order. The ending changes slightly depending on the player's dialogue choices. The game deals with mature themes such as depression, suicide, murder, and cancer, but also provides moments of humor. Dead by Daylight is a survival horror asymmetric multiplayer online game developed by Behavior Interactive. It is a 1 vs 4 game in which one player takes on the role of a savage killer and the other 4 play as survivors. The killer must catch each survivor and sacrifice them to a malevolent force known as the Entity by impaling them on hooks, while the survivor's objective is to escape the map by repairing 5 of 7 generators scattered throughout it to power the 2 exit gates. The killer must hook and sacrifice all the survivors before they escape. If only one survivor remains, an escape hatch opens. If the killer closes the hatch or a gate is opened, the endgame collapse begins, and the survivors are given only 2 minutes to escape. If they are hooked a 3rd time, they will die. Amnesia, The Dark Descent is a survival horror adventure video game by Frictional Games, released in 2010. Amnesia, The Dark Descent is a first-person adventure game with survival horror elements. The player takes control of Daniel, who must navigate Castle Brennenburg while avoiding various dangers and solving puzzles. If a monster sees Daniel, it will chase him until he evades its sight. Daniel has no means of fighting monsters, so he must either avoid being seen or run away. Daniel can withstand only a few attacks from a monster before he dies, which will cause the most recent save of the game to load. The player can restore Daniel's health by using laudanum found throughout the game. The player can hinder monsters by closing doors and building barricades from nearby objects. However, monsters can destroy doors and knock over objects. Hiding in dark areas where monsters will not notice Daniel is also effective but will decrease Daniel's sanity. In higher difficulties, the monsters will move faster, deal more damage and search for Daniel for longer periods of time. World of Horror features turn-based combat where the player queues up actions and attacks to be used against hostile creatures, many of which are based on creatures from Japanese horror manga or urban legends, such as Kukiseikana. The game also incorporates adventure game and roguelike elements in its exploration and puzzle solving. S.T.A.L.K.E.R is a first-person shooter survival horror video game series, developed by GSC Game World, Ukraine. Game events take place in the alternative world's Chernobyl exclusion zone, Ukraine, present day. According to the games, an unexpected anomaly affected the exclusion zone in 2006. As a result, the physical, chemical, and biological processes in this territory changed. Numerous anomalies, artifacts, and mutants appeared. The game is based on the novel Roadside Picnic by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky and influenced by the movie Stalker by Andrei Tarkovsky. Stalker is a backronym for scavengers, trespassers, adventurers, loners, killers, explorers, and robbers. World of Horror, also known by its Japanese title Kyofu no Sekai. The Quarry is a 2022 interactive drama horror video game, published by 2K. Played from a third-person perspective, the player assumes control of 9 different teenagers who must survive a night at the Hackett's Quarry. The player must make different decisions, which can change the character development, the plot, and the relationships between different characters. All 9 playable characters may die by the end of the game, and each character has 10 to 12 different ways to potentially die. Due to the game's branching storyline, it has many endings, and at the end of a playthrough, players will be given different collectible cards that depict the fate of each character. Five Nights at Freddy's is an American media franchise created by Scott Cawthon. The first game of the same name was released on August 8, 2014, and the resultant series has since gained worldwide popularity. The Five Nights at Freddy's series consists of horror-themed video games in which the player is usually a nighttime employee at a location connected with Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. The restaurant has life-size animatronic characters that perform at children's parties. The animatronics wander the restaurant at night and the guard is instructed to watch over them. To progress through the games, the player must guard themselves against animatronics with a variety of tools. In Five Nights at Freddy's, the player can control the 2 security doors connecting their office to the adjacent hallways as a barrier against animatronics in the vicinity. Each night, the player has a power supply that depletes faster when a tool is used. If the power goes out, the player can no longer use any tools and is defenseless against the animatronics. Five Nights at Freddy's 2 has different tools, there are no protective doors, and the player must instead use an empty animatronic head and flashlight to defend themselves against the animatronics. The game introduced a music box which must be remotely wound up on a regular basis to prevent an attack from a particular animatronic. 8-bit minigames were introduced, which are played randomly after death. Pathologic is a 2005 role-playing and survival game developed by Russian studio S.T.A.L.K.E.R. The player can choose one of 3 playable healers, who are listed only by their honorifics: 2 men, the Bachelor, Daniil Dankovsky, and Harrispex, Artemy Burek, and a girl, the Devatress, Clara, later retranslated as the Changeling, Clara. Only the former 2 are available at the start of the game, with Clara being unlocked after completing a playthrough of the game with either Daniil or Artemy. The questlines available depend on which character is being played. The 2 unchosen playable characters are present in the town during the chosen character's playthrough. Each player character has a different listed goal in their quest book, but the player's only necessary goal is simply to survive to the end of the 12 days by maintaining their resources. Completing main quests is essential to discovering the secrets of the town, as characters who would otherwise reveal information later in the game can fall ill from the plague early. Outlast is a first-person survival horror video game developed and published by Red Barrels. The game revolves around a freelance investigative journalist, Miles Upshur, who decides to investigate a remote psychiatric hospital named Mount Massive Asylum, located deep in the mountains of Lake County, Colorado. Players can experience the terrifying events occur at his journey. Phasmophobia is an investigative horror game developed and published by British indie game studio Kinetic Games. It is based primarily on the popular hobby of ghost hunting. Phasmophobia is a horror investigation survival game played from a first-person perspective. The player works solo or in a group with up to 3 other players to complete a contract in which they must identify the type of ghost haunting the specified site. Players can communicate through voice chat, both locally within a short distance and globally via walkie-talkies. Phasmophobia features speech recognition, allowing certain pieces of equipment and even the ghost to hear players speaking and understand key words and phrases. Completing objectives and gathering evidence provide a payout. Complete as much as possible to level up, unlock maps and difficulties, and earn money. Visage is a 2020 independent psychological horror video game developed and published by S.T.A.L.K.E.R Studio. Set in a strangely structured house with a somber history, players control Dwayne Anderson as he explores the backstories of the inhabitants that once lived there. The game is presented in first-person perspective, and a large portion of the house is accessible, though some require keys. Obstacles include avoiding the dark to reduce loss of sanity, though several tools can aid players through the dark. If you are fearless, you should try out some games for sure. But you are scared easily, don't ever play these games alone. Especially games like Visage, Outlast and Phasmophobia. If you have played some of these, let me know about your experience in the comments section. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos regarding games, game reviews and some gameplays. Take care guys, goodbye until next time.